Alright, so let's just get this out of the way. This anime has boobs, mechs, and a penis-shaped hairstyle. Welcome to Show Talk. Hey people, Mike here at Xenodome Universal Creations, and this is the first installment of Show Talk. Today, we're going to be talking about the first two episodes of Dai-Shogun Great Revolution. So let's just get started. The first thing that really wowed me about this whole episode was its art style. Wow, incredible. I loved it. So I'd watched a lot of other animes from like 7, 5, 6 years ago, right? And I'd never seen an anime from this year. I'm sure you guys have. For me, it was my first time, unlike Kaichiro, who hasn't had his first time yet. Alright, so this episode begins with a gang battle between Kaichiro and Hyakusuke and his whole gang, and some other gang in Nagasaki. And Kaichiro's goal is to take over Nagasaki, to unite it, apparently, right? So they're about to fight, the other team surrenders, and it's just kind of pointless. You don't really need to see that at all. It's really only to kind of bring light to who Kaichiro is. He's a leader, he's a strong person, he's a conqueror, and he always wants to fight. Right? He's always ready to fight. And that's the only reason that whole scene was even in there, I think, right? So let's move on to the rest of the story. So just because that first scene was kind of unnecessary doesn't mean the rest of the episode was bad. The rest of the episode was actually really hilarious. 3 characters in particular, Granny, Hyakusuke, and the cop, were hilarious. Let's start with Hyakusuke, which he's the guy with the penis-shaped hairstyle that I mentioned earlier, right? So he builds this ridiculous telescope that probably took him like a year, going up, down, left, and right, just to take a peek into the bathhouse where a bunch of women are naked. So I thought that was really funny. That whole peepee tom thing was really funny to me, right? Also, Granny, she is just a very wise old woman, but she's also really funny. She has this comedy about her. She's wise. She's been through most of the things she's been through, and she'll say most of the stuff she wants to say to your face, and I like her. Moving on to the main storyline of this episode, Gaichiro's being framed, right? The cops think that he is killing 17-year-olds and chopping off their penises, which is just ridiculous, right? But the main cop is sure that it's Kaichiro. When they find out it was probably a woman, because they saw a red-dressed woman killing the person and escaping, the main cop was like, look, he's probably cross-dressing, it's still Kaichiro. And he just learned, he listened to no reason, right? And he finally goes to arrest Kaichiro for the final time. And Granny steps in and she's like, look, I know all the stuff you did in this bathhouse when you were younger. You did some disgusting stuff, so let's get this straight. You're not going to arrest Kaichiro. You're going to leave. Bye-bye. Right? You're gone. And the cop's like, all right, cool, peace. I'm out. This never happened. And that was a good moment, right? That was probably my favorite moment of this episode and made those two my favorite characters of this episode. So I couldn't go through this episode without mentioning Kiriko. She's apparently the protector of Kaichiro. And he finds that out. Originally, he thinks that she is framing him. But it's actually this other woman named Joaquin that's been framing him, right? And Joaquin reveals herself. She gets in her giant mech and just comes for Kaichiro. And Kaichiro is like, oh, what is this? But Kiriko says, look, you are a member of the Tokugawa family, right? And you can get into this giant mech named Susanoo and beat this lady, right? So they fight, Susanoo kicks ass, and the lady is like, alright, I'm getting really wet, I'm getting really horny, so I'm going to leave and save this for another day, which was really weird. I thought it was really awkward. This show has ridiculous amounts of just sexual innuendos, right? Alright, so that was episode 1. Let's move on to episode 2. So episode 2 introduces one of my favorite characters personally, Chiharu. We'll talk about her a little later. So right now we're going to talk about Kiriko and Kaichiro's discussion about his curse and why he can't touch women. He is destined to be a great leader in Japan, right? He is a descendant of the Tokugawa bloodline. He can't touch women without fainting, getting rashes, because he has to be a virgin to pilot Susanoo, right? And take over Japan. That has to happen. That's really important, right? So Kaichiro is not having it. He is upset. He wants to live his life how he wants to live it, and he goes off. And we see Granny from the background doing this hilarious explanation why his curse sucks. He goes to bed every night, dreams about these girls, wakes up, can't do anything about it. He is growing up with these urges and he can't fulfill them, and that's a horrible experience, you know. Kiriko doesn't get it. She's also a virgin, and she's also very she is a ninja. She knows what she has to do. She's very objective based, you know. So it cuts to Gaichiro going to a brothel with his friend Hyakusuke, and this is where they meet Chiharu, right? They come in. She is one of the girls that's supposed to service Gaichiro. It turns out she is a demon fox. She takes money from her clients, runs, and that happens to Gaichiro. He goes after her along with Kiriko, who just found out he was at a brothel and is really upset. He confronts her, but it turns out that this other guy was actually robbed by her as well. He is holding a knife up to her, and Gaichiro isn't having it. He says, "Look, why are you holding a knife up to this girl?" And he just goes "Look, she's an animal. She's disgusting. She's a disgrace. She takes money, and she doesn't deserve to be on this earth." And this really upsets Gaichiro, and this upsets Chihiro. She turns into a demon fox, pointy ears, tail, nails, everything, right? She goes after this guy, and Gaichiro isn't having that either. He stops her. And I think that was a moment where we really get to see who Gaichiro is. He doesn't promote violence. He makes sure that violence takes place in a controlled environment and for a purpose. And he gives the other guy's money back and just talks to Chihiro and says, "Look, why are you doing this?" And Chihiro goes in this whole thing "Oh, I've never been accepted by anybody, right? From birth, I was just this horrible monster and no one liked me, no one accepted me." And she's chosen to live her life in misery, and Gaichiro doesn't like it. She tells her, "Look, no matter where you come from, no matter how you were born, you were still a person, and you deserve respect, and you deserve to have your head held high." And I thought that was one of the best moments of the show, my favorite moment personally, when he goes up to her and explains, "Look, always have your head held high." And he says, "And the sun will shine down upon you." And I loved it. It was very well done, in an anime where it's a lot of boobs and a lot of mechs, but it's also a lot of sentiment. It's a lot of good storytelling, right? That was my favorite moment. And it moves on to her quitting the brothel and working at the bathhouse. And she is all over Gaichiro. She loves him, apparently. Gaichiro's "Look, I have the curse, get off of me." And it's just funny. It ends on a funny note. And that's it, guys. I'm going to be moving on to episode 3 and 4 and doing these double episodes until I catch up to the series, in which case I'll continue with single episodes. Alright, guys. I hope you guys have a great day. Peace.